Hello there, Active Rog coming at you here from beautiful Surface Paradise on Australia's Gold Coast with the second of my Photoshop video tutorials. Now the agenda is we're going to cover the spot healing brush tool. Now I know we've covered that in the last video, but I've had a couple of people ask me, well, what if the subject has a darker skin color? Well, why don't you try it for yourself? I'm going to show it to you anyway. Then we're going to cover the clone stamp tool, the patch tool, the dodge tool, the burn tool, the selection tool, and last but not least, we're going to cover the awesome power of Photoshop with the crop tool. So without further ado, we're going to get stuck straight into it. Okay, the spot healing brush tool. Here we have a pimple-faced young lady here. Now you come over here to the spot healing brush tool, shortcut J, and what you do is you come across and with the open and close square brackets, you can make that cursor larger and smaller. So to remove these blemishes, you want to be just slightly larger than the actual blemish itself, and click the left hand mouse button like this, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one's a bit bigger. And click on here, and it's the tiniest of freckles on the finger as well. Simple. Now, like this other guy asked me, what if your pretty girlfriend has a darker skin tone? So let's have a look. Got one right here. This beautiful young woman has a few blemishes on the screen that we're going to get rid of. Same deal here with the spot healing brush tool. Make the cursor just a little bit larger than the blemish. You click on here. Click on here, and just a little bit left there, and that's it, all gone. That's simple. Okay, now we're going to jump straight into the clone stamp tool. Okay, picture of a headland. Now the clone stamp tool, what we want to do is want to copy this island and duplicate it. So with the clone stamp tool, we're over here, shortcut S. And what you want to do, again, you want to make the circle about the size of the object that you want to stamp. And when you do that, and you got it where you want it, then basically hit the Alt key, click, and you can move that across and place it where you want it to be placed. Click the mouse button, hit deselect, done. There it is. Simple. Now let's say instead of duplicating the island, you want to get rid of it. So we come back up here, right, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the patch tool. So the patch tool, we're going to draw around the object that you want to get rid of, like so. And you have this marching ants, shows you that you've completely surrounded the area and selected it properly. All you do is click on the mouse button without releasing it, drag it across where you want it to be dragged, and pop it down. Again, you go to deselect, voila, the island is now gone. This is a very, very powerful tool of Photoshop. It's content aware. If it isn't quite perfect, you can go and use the spot healing brush tool and just fix those little areas up. So that's basically the clone stamp tool and the patch tool. Now what we're going to be doing now is we're going to use the dodge tool. Now we have a picture here somewhere. We'll just go back to the beginning. Got the squinty-eyed woman here, and what are we doing? Let's say we want to make those eyeballs a little bit whiter. So we have here the dodge tool. Now what you want to do is you want to make it just a little bit, maybe change the exposure to about say 40%, and you can see now that we're making her eyes whiter. See? Come in like so, make it larger with the open and close square brackets. And that is one example where you can use the dodge tool to highlight and make something brighter. Now, the burn tool, on the other hand, does exactly the opposite. So if we come in and say, well, let's say my beautiful daughter Katrina, okay, we just drag her in here, all right, and what we want to do, now you can actually zoom in and zoom out by pressing these keys on your keyboard. So let's say you want to, first of all, we're going to fix those blemishes on Katrina's face with the spot healing brush tool. She has got a few little freckles. One here, one there, one there, one there, and one there. And get rid of those two as well. Now, let's say you want to put a bit more of a tan on her. So we zoom back out. Now what we want to do is use the burn tool and just bring the exposure down to maybe 30-40%, just a bit of a zoom in now. And you can see now that we're just darkening her skin just a little bit. Just make that a bit smaller. Zoom back out. So we've now just darkened the skin tone out a little bit. So that is the power of the burn tool. So there's no need for your model, your subject, to go and get a spray tan. You can make it look orange right there on the screen. If we go back to the beautiful young lady here, okay, we'll come back to her. You can also make her skin a bit darker as well. You can even things out a little bit. So there's a lot of power within Photoshop. So this young lady is now starting to look more like a Negro. Anyways, a bit of fun with Photoshop. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the selection tool and just show you what's actually possible with that. So we have another resource file here. What we're going to do is the quick selection tool. The brain's not working. All right. So you slowly move around. And that's it. Now, we want to black and white. Now, what we want to do here is we want to make that a bit more dynamic. Now, we know here there's lots of greens in there, so we can change that. And you'll see now it's becoming a lot darker down here. And there's a few yellows in there, so you can make your image really dynamic for some really spectacular and stunning effects. Now, you can also use the selection tool. If you just come back to Katrina here, I'll just delete that and bring her back up green screen. Katrina wanted to try out purple hair. So again, we use the quick selection tool, and while we hold the mouse button, we very slowly move around. Now this can be a bit tricky. Right, we can fix that. Now up here you've got minus and plus. Plus for enlarging, as in pulling it down. And you've got minus for pulling it in. So what we're going to do now is very carefully try to align this. If it stuffs up, just hit your backspace, your Control Z button, and just want to, it can be a little bit tricky. So it takes a little bit of patience there. We'll just zoom in on the actual picture. Many people say she's got daddy's good looks and mummy's legs. Well, they're absolutely right. Now, so the idea is to pull that. Well, it's probably as good as we're going to get it without wasting too much time. So what we do is we go to the paintbrush, go to your brush tool, She wants purple, so we go purple. Now, with the areas, it's really easy. Let's take the opacity maybe to about 15%. Change the size. And just give it a little paint there. And same thing there. We just have to be a little bit more careful here, but you know, we can follow the face around with no problems. At least we've got the outside. Deselect, and we'll just touch it up a little bit. Take the opacity down a bit so you don't show that much of a smear. And there you have it. Katrina with purple hair. So now we get on to the crop tool. Now, crop tool, this is interesting. Now, we'll just come back to the main screen. With the crop tool, let's say for example, let's take this wedding photo. Now, the crop tool is up here. Shortcut C. Now, click on it. Now, let's say you want to make that picture a little bit wider. Now, you want it to be content aware, and it'll actually duplicate the background across. Now, depending on how simple or complex the background is, it's going to determine how perfect that will be. So you sort of get the general idea. So if we take, for example, just before we finish off, a beach. Oh, it's disappeared. Okay, now, well, let's take the headland again. Let's say I want to make him a little bit larger. Get rid of that, pull it out, and hit OK. Bingo. So, as you can see, there's so many things that you can do with Photoshop. Now, if you want to learn all about Photoshop and become an expert, enroll in the Diploma of Photoshop with the Shaw Academy. Definitely worthwhile checking out. It's where I'm getting all of my experience, and the best way, the way I see it, for me to learn to use this amazing piece of software is not only about practicing, but also to relay what I've been taught to you guys through Facebook. So that way you get to learn something as well, and with me, it sticks in my head. Anyways, that's it from me. Live with passion. God bless. See you at the top. Keep playing around with them Bitcoins, and have an awesome day. All right, catch us later. Bye.